Texas Small Farmers and Ranchers CBO.
Righty. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for part two on the truth about the food and where it comes from. So, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Last week, or last month, I apologize. Last month, y'all joined us, and it was an invigorating conversation. I tell y'all, we have been blowing up on social media, and y'all have been like, we want more, we want more, we want more. So I think it'd be best that we do it again. My name is Uche Ogba. I'm with the Texas Small Farmers and Ranchers. I'm so excited that you are here. And you know what? It's always a blessing when y'all join us and we have these inspirited conversations. And I think this conversation is bound to spark all of that going forward. So, first and foremost, now that I have you here, some people are joining us, and that's okay. We here at Sex Farmers Ranchers, we believe in getting started early and on time, and this time, no technical glitches. So we're gonna make it happen. But we want to always start off with our polls slash quizzes. All right. So I always start with this small icebreaker, which I've launched. And one of the key things that we love to learn is where are you joining us from since we are virtual? What do you produce or hope to produce on your farm slash ranch? And what type of livestock do you raise or hope to raise on your farm slash ranch? I can answer those questions. So I'm in San Antonio, Texas. And what do I produce? Well, herbs, a lot of rosemary, oregano, sage. I love to cook, so I'm starting to build out this little rack in front of on the kitchen counter and just cut it up and chop up and cook, and it's so amazing whenever I cook with that. And in terms of livestock, I have zero livestock, not even a dog. But hopefully, when I get a bigger space, I will be able to have some livestock in place. I was thinking actually rabbits the other day, which would be a nice way to kind of like, raise and see what I can do with that. So I see we have six guests. Oh, there we go. Answers coming in. Answers coming in. We'd love to hear your thoughts because here at Texas Small Farmers and Ranchers, we want to know where you're coming from and where you are in your farming slash produce and livestock journey. And in that process, we can help you get to where you want to be. Maybe you want to be, an urban gardener. Maybe you want to just have your small garden you want to grow, or you want to be a big box grower. We are here to help you throughout and through it. So, if you haven't seen the icebreaker yet, we would love for you to share who you are. As you can see from my name is Uchenaya Agba, and I'm so excited to be here. And as soon as we get everyone to answer, I would love to have our panelists pop up as well. So we are 10 seconds into our 2 minute mark. I'm gonna give everyone maybe another 20, another 15 seconds. Maybe I'll count down for y'all. You know, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have five people responding. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Now let me see what y'all saying in here. Let me see what y'all saying. So excited to share that we have a number of people from Dallas, Fort Worth. Welcome, Kelly. We have a guest from Dallas. Well, we have a guest from Houston. We have another guest from San Antonio, and we have another guest from Lancaster, Texas. Welcome, y'all. We appreciate y'all joining us. What do you produce or hope to produce on your farm slash ranch? One of our guests said green beans, kale, tomatoes, hibiscus, roselle, jalapeno, peppers. I was about to start rhyming, y'all. Thanksgiving's around the corner. And, if you've seen that meme, I want greens, beans, potatoes, yams, collard greens, hey, hey, I'm hungry already. I am hungry, and and I say that with all honesty. Another guest said vegetables and fruits. We have another guest that said vegetables and herbs now. Hay in the future. Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. Another guest said hope to raise produce, herbs, and some berries. Yes, yes. Another guest said tomatoes, okra, pole beans, and greens. Awesome, awesome. Now, when it comes to livestock, one of our two guests said none. That's all right. That's all right. No, actually, three of our guests said none. But two guests said goats and horses. Another guest said hope to raise bees. That's awesome. All right. And our chat is also going live as well. We have some people that have joined us through their note takers as well. That's awesome. I love it. Yes, note takers join in and record this. Even though we are recording and we'll be sharing the video on YouTube after we're done, but we're so excited that you all are here as well. Drive safe, Deidre. We do not want you, worried about us. Okay, drive safe, and that's what's important. All right. So I'm excited to get started today, y'all. Like, I believe I've not done a proper introduction of all our panelists. So I want to do that. So welcome to the Truth About Food and Farming Part 2. And again, thank you for joining us for another powerful community conversation. So, like I said, we're diving deeper this time, y'all. And we want you to also dive deep with us. So if you have any questions, please write it in the chat, write it in the Q&A. We want y'all to ask questions. We're going to give you guys a chance to write questions. Oh, we have some people saying I have rabbits, or later said I have rabbits and chickens and several crops for the fall. You right, say I have gophers and deer. I love it. I love it. I love it, y'all. All right. So, but like, see, our chat is popping only for host and panels, but I want our host and panels to also use the everyone chat feature so everyone can see what you're saying as well. So, like I said earlier, I would love for y'all to respond in the chat room, raise your hand with the raise your hand feature, ask a question if you have on the Q&A feature as well. Your feedback, your I guess corporation. I want to say it's corporation because feedback is too thing. We want to have this conversation flow, and we think that's so important with you guys part of us. So I'm honored to be moderating tonight, and I have three incredible leaders who have joined us. You already know them. If you do not know them, we have P. Wade Ross, head honcho. Woo-hoo-hoo. We got Arlena Brumfield, our amazing farmer and community liaison. Woo-hoo. And we got Uriah Israel, he is the author of a book called Let's Grow, and he helps to educate kids on how to be part of the land and grow their own food. Uriah Israel, welcome as well. All right. Okay. So we're going to jump right in. I think I spent 10 minutes talking too much, so I'll give our panelists a chance to talk. Phil, I'm going to throw this to you first of all. To set the stage, why do you think so many people became disconnected from real food?
All right. Well, thanks. Before I get to that question, I want to do a quick disclaimer because I don't know if we did it last time, but all of us panelists were farmers with different types of expertise as it relates to food, but we are not licensed physicians. So, have to say that when it comes to food, we do have our own. We are practitioners. We do practice, but we're not licensed. So if you have any current illnesses or anything like that, it's we have to say this that we do recommend that you receive consultation from your personal physician. And anyway, with that said, I'm going to get into your question, Uche, which I believe was why we are disconnected from foods, right? How that happened. So, real quick, just a quick snapshot. 100 years ago, we were all farmers. All of us were. That's just what we did. That's what they brought us here to do. And that's really all we knew. Uriah gave me a great photo about 6 months ago of all the different black townships and villages, and not there wasn't just we hear about the Tulsas, but there were so many more of those, hundreds of them, thousands of them, all across the nation, because that's what we did after slavery. We had to have somewhere to go. We didn't fit in. So, fast forward to the 1950s through the 1970s, there was a lot of land loss to the tune of 826 acres per day for Black farmers, which is huge, huge if you think about that, along with the Great Migration, which kind of got us away from what we did, which was farming. 1980s policy hit that took local food out of the hands of small farmers into the big farmers and centralized it along with some of the imports that you hear about today. And with all that said, and the miseducation has gone with it, we have become disconnected from our food to the point where we don't know where you can go ask, not all, but many, small children where their food come from. They have no idea because of ignorance, because they never were taught where the food comes from and how the food comes from and what the impacts are of the food system now versus 100 years ago.
Thank you, Phil. That was very insightful. So I guess my follow-up is, now that we've taken I guess, a overview look of how our food system has changed from, years ago, can you tell us about how food production has changed over the last few decades?
Yeah. So mass production. So before back after World War II, I think it was by accident, but they discovered, while they were creating the nitrogen bomb and all that stuff, that chemicals can make things grow a lot faster. So, with the growing populations, the baby boomers, and the fact they had to feed the world, they jumped right into that without really doing any type of true studies on the impacts of not only the soil, but those chemicals that were in the soil. So, that became our norm. So as time went and mass production went, and I think Uriah said it, or maybe it was you, Uche, our food was really no longer food because it had become ultra processed. Most of the stuff you can get in store, especially if you live in what most people call a food desert or whatever we're calling a food apartheid, whatever that's called. If you live far away from a grocery store, then and you're probably going to a corner store and you get in those habits of eating that kind of food, not realizing it isn't food. It's just highly ultra processed, what used to be food. But if you look at those ingredients, it's there's not food on there. It's everything but food.
Okay. All right. Now,
Hey, Phil,
yes.
can I also chime in under that too? Another reason why we're eating so much processed food is that was a question, right? Why are we eating so much? Um, we've kind of lost the fine art of cooking. You don't see a lot of people cooking anymore. I know for a fact my mother family there was just six of us, but she regularly made stuff from scratch, and my mother-in-law the same thing. And if you asked them like what's the secret to your food is so good, she would tell you I use the best ingredients. And so we're not making, a lot of people don't know how to cook anymore. We're like a fast food ramen noodle type of lifestyle, and we have to get back to cooking things, and then we'll truly understand the value of good food also when you can actually make it from scratch, and you appreciate it more. But yeah, we have to get back to cooking, and one other thing too is our children need to see. Our children need to see us, the parents, and and all of us cooking, so they'll get an understanding. Like, this is where food comes from. I slice up these tomatoes. I use this oil. This is why I need these utensils and things in my kitchen. And so like we do have to get back to doing that so our future generations will understand like how to cook and what real food is.
Elena?
Yes, and I was gonna say that the in the 90s, late 90s, we became the microwave society. Convenience. We got away from not only cooking food, but the market followed played into us always being busy. You know, you need to have a job, you're working. So they played into it by creating TV dinners, healthy meals, processed food that you could just heat up. And then the nation slowly started to make that the norm, thinking that you can go in the store and then that was okay, your meals for yourself and your children to be something quick. So you're feeding your kids dinner, but they come in boxes with excessive ingredients in it. You nuke it in the microwave and it doesn't have ingredients, true food ingredients in them. They've been processed and sold to you for the convenience. And unfortunately, society has continued to get further and further away from having those sit at the table meals and spending that time and valuing the ingredients and the seasons. It's let's just grab it and go. And so restaurants and food swamps have become extremely popular because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, 100 years ago, there wasn't any 24-hour, convenience store, or, there wasn't these value meals, which are very low in nutrients and density. And that's showing up in the obesity rates and the disease rates. And
Right.
real stuff, man.
I guess my follow-up question to Phil and everyone, I'll love for you to chime in because since we're talking about inexpensive food. I don't like the word cheap, but inexpensive food that is filled with hormones, preservatives. You're talking about your fast food or your TV dinners. Why are they so inexpensive? Like, are they so readily available? Because I go to the grocery store and I try to buy the fresh ingredients, and there's now a premium to that, even though it's not full of chemicals or whatnot. And obviously, to me, it sounds like it takes less in terms of financial effort to grow versus your TV dinner or over processed food that uses other materials or other things. But educate me, why is it cheaper
It
or
it's
inexpensive?
I mean, part of it is mindset. It's by design. You think about it, and policy one thing. Let's kick the small farmers out. Back in all the way up to the 80s, we bought local food because that's what was sold to us, and it was by design. Well, when you're talking about mass production, that not only feeds into, you know, as I think Uriah said it before, pay the doctor now, pay the doctor later. It's all tied together. Food, you talk about medicine, pharmaceuticals, you talk about healthcare. It's actually cheaper to grow your own fresh food, to learn it and grow it if you add everything up. But the miseducation, you know, tells us to, oh, just look the other way. This is still food. No, no, it's not. So that's why we're having, platforms like this to talk about it, because sometimes if you're not bringing things to the forefront of people's mind, then it's almost like brainwashing. What do you mean? I didn't, my doctor said this. Well, yeah, your doctor, he or she's part of the system too. And yeah, if you're going to show, it's all a part of a vicious cycle. So technically, when you're asking the question about cheap food, is it really cheaper? Just like Uriah said, is it really cheaper, or is it just miseducation and indoctrination based on a system that has us all, you know, I'm not going to say all, but most of us falling in line because that's just all we know.
Thank you for that, Phil. Thank you, thank you. And I guess let's move the conversation forward then. Mariah, we're talking about this miseducation. Can you tell me what's the biggest lie the grocery store is telling us right now? Like what have they sold to us? What's the biggest lie they've sold to us?
Well, wow, that's a great question. You know, one of the things we talked about earlier before we started, we kind of discussed some things earlier, and they're misleading everybody with faulty packaging. Um, and so like you see something, let's say you see some butter in the refrigerator section of the supermarket. It has these beautiful cows on it, it has a big sun on it, and it looks really healthy like it's outside, but it's not really produced in like a pasture like you see. Like when I drive up my street, I see cows on both sides. I see goats, but that's not where the butter is being produced today. They're being produced in these big animal like factories facilities. Some of them don't even see light, and so this is a big thing. This is one of the deceptions. They use just different images on the packages that have give you an emotional response. You'll see a child happy on a package, and you might see somebody that looks like you on the package. Oh, I'm gonna get that, because like you feel like a connection to it, right? But a lot of these products are not made like your mother used to make it, right? They're like doing it in a factory of some sort. It's not like your mother made it, even though it looks like that, right? And so this is another thing that they use. And one thing I will say, one of the other tricks, one of the big tricks is they use a lot of vague terminology to really confuse you, natural, organic, wholesome. They don't really, you don't know what those terms mean. They sound great though, right? They say you're like, oh, this is natural. What is that? So here you go, you might even spend a little extra. The package might be brown instead of white. So now you're like, oh man, I'm think I'm eating good here. And they might tweak it a little bit and have you believing that you are buying something that's healthier for you when it really is not. Um, and that's just three of the things. There's a couple of more. I'm just trying to think of. Let me see. The first, yeah. So like the imagery, be careful of the imagery on the packet. That's one of the biggest tricks. The definitely the vague terminology. And I know we're going to talk about reading ingredients. But read the ingredients, man, because sometimes you think it's healthy, man. When you read the ingredients, you find that like there's a lot of chemicals that you really don't understand. Everything is like made in the lab today. They're using chemicals to make smells, buttery taste, made it to look a certain color, even. And you're thinking, and I hate to sound like this because I also want to throw a solution in there, is really no, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but know people that make stuff, man. Go visit a farm, go visit somebody that has some cows, they make butter and stuff. Learn how things are made and support them. If you're not going to make it yourself, find somebody that's going to make it and like you can see them making it. I know in this house, man, we make some of everything from bread, soap, pastries, all kind of stuff. And you just got to be curious. And this group that's listening to this podcast, this is the type of group that is agri-curious, and we're expecting everybody on here to just get your hands dirty, get your hands clean in the kitchen, and start making stuff. There's no better way to do these things and learn than by trying. And I'm going to pass it on to somebody else.
Alena? Alena, you're muted.
Sorry. I was saying that it has been a push to really have legislator create policies to make sure that they're not so ambiguous and secretive and sneaky for that matter. They'll show some integrity on the labels. And it's been a slow road for people becoming more woke. But one of the big ones, the big lies is sugar free. And that is a very dangerous labeling for you to think that something is sugar free, but that just means that it is not cane sugar or it's not whatever sugar that they choose is not the sugar. So if you look on the label, it will say additional sugars added. And then they may not have anything there. They don't have to share that anymore. So now they're using extensive amounts when you go and read the label of fructose, maltose, which is fructose is sugars from fruits, which it should be natural to your body, but this is not a natural source. Maltose, sugar from milk, it's not a natural source. It's made in the lab as well. And then they add I say fructose, and then they add the processed corn. Y'all help me with that one. The worst of the worst, the high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
And then there are some natural sources like date syrups and agave and honey. Very, very rare that you find that. So, and then stevia on the aspartams that they add as sugars. These are manufactured sugars that have been known to be dangerous. They're hiding them in the label, and it says it's sugar free. They don't actually have to put that. If they put a fraction of amounts in it, they are far sweeter, maybe 3 times than a teaspoon of regular sugar. They can add 3 times more. Your body is processing that in some form or fashion. Studies have shown that it leads to cancer, liver issues, kidney issues, but legislator has not caught up with the issues in health. It's selling is really people want to be healthier, so they putting sugar free on a lot of things, and they're making a lot of money, and it's a big hoax.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, Phil.
Oh no, I'm gonna just chime in with a couple more, and then you can move on. But I think it's important to say that because Uriah was talking about cooking and cooking oils. There's two that I can vouch for, which is olive oil, especially if it's extra virgin olive oil, and coconut oil. Most of everything else, especially if it's something that's made from seed, like cottonseed or canola, those are industrial grade oils. What I mean by that is they didn't even use, 50, 100 years ago, they didn't even use that kind of stuff for consumption. It was used on machinery. Because it just is not for consumption. Everything. A lot of times we could be feeling good about ourselves because we're eating vegetables and we're eating the right proteins and things like that. But if it's not done in the right, cooked in the right oils, guess what? We're getting sick and we don't even know it. Again, miseducation. We just don't know. We're ignorant. We don't know these things unless we get on these platforms and talk about it. So if you want to be safe, coconut oil is what you cook with. And I don't know, Uriah or Arlena, you may have others that I'm not aware of, like avocado and things like that. But basically, when I'm talking about mainstream, with the stuff you can walk in the store and just get, the safest thing I would say is olive oil and coconut oil. So that's one. The other thing I got to tread lightly on, because I have a lot of friends who are farmers who have worked very hard to receive certain certifications. So I'm going to tread lightly, but I will suggest that you look up the term greenwashing. Look that up, YouTube it, Google it, whatever you need to do. But understand that all that glitters ain't gold, even in the food industry these days. And there's certain regulations and metrics and ways of measuring things that even those who are in those industries with those certifications, they're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing everything the right way, and you're allowing others to sneak by. And us as consumers, we can't tell the difference. The only way, as Uriah was saying earlier, the only way you can really tell the difference is if you grow it yourself. You really don't know, or you get to know your farmer. So that's why we really push, that everyone should know how to grow something. Figure out something you like to eat and figure out how to grow it in every growing season.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Greenwashing. I hope everyone takes note on what that is. Google it. We probably have another knowledge from just on greenwashing. You
Well,
never know.
I can give you a definition of what that is. So
Yes, right. Please, please. What is
greenwashing
greenwashing?
is a terminology. Is actually new. Well, I just recently heard of it. Is when you describe a product in like some type of healthy way when it's really not all that. Like I said, you see the term natural. I bought some Lay's potato chips. It was like they made it like it was like a vintage style, all natural, and it had a big potato on it. I was like, this is no different from the last bag I bought. But they use that term to like attract you to buy these things, and this is what they do, and that's what they mean by greenwashing. All natural, eco-friendly. This is organic. However, that's deciphered today. They got all kind of loopholes, and yep, thank you. Very deceptive. It's all very deceptive, and you do have to once again. You got to read the labels and just really got to make stuff yourself, man. I will say, so, Phil, you mentioned something about food. Somebody mentioned food being cheap, I think, and I'm actually seeing stuff go up in price that used to
Yeah.
be a quarter. Now it's like a dollar. I'm like, what is going on here? This is the same bag of chips with a lot more air in it, and so this is what we're seeing. Like, yeah, I remember going and buying like tomatoes for like practically nothing, man. Now they're like everything is like so expensive. That's another incentive to know a grower and to grow stuff yourself, man. And and we have to learn how to grow our own food, know other farmers because people are going to be looking. Yeah, look, 3.99 for it, right? So like people, I'm watching watermelons. Watermelons went up like every year. They're like going up like almost a dollar. And so these are things that come up naturally from God's earth, right? And so here we are paying for it. We better learn how to grow stuff. Or we're gonna give everything we have to eat. And that's not a threat. That's a promise.
I tell you what, I'm not excited, but I'm liking how it is pushing people to realize that the food that they were enjoying convenient and fast is getting so high and the fruit is getting so high that they are okay with coming to us over here that are growing with no chemicals and paying a quality price for that quality food product. So go ahead on with your inflation and soon they're gonna return to eating off the land.
Eh, You know what? You guys all make the right points because, yeah, with inflation and grocery prices going up, you might as well just grow it yourself. Like, buy those seeds, plant in your backyard, and you probably get more fruit and vegetables just from that than you going to the grocery store. But that's amazing. So I guess let's move in the conversation forward. We've talked about how we're growing, how some of those preservatives are affecting how they're just getting into our food system. So, Elena, let me start off with you. How have these additives and processing changed the nutrition we get, especially for children? Because children's bodies are more susceptible to changes of these kind of sense. So how do you think this has affected us, our children going forward?
Okay, I am not a medical official, but I am a licensed public health official. I got the degree with the
And
name on
your
it.
mother as well, so you know
Yes, I was
best.
gonna say that next. And so that was my motivation. A mother of five and a granddaughter. My motivation was that I was seeing. I also have the luxuries of having been here a little bit longer than I look. But I was born in the 70s. And so there wasn't in the 70s, the rate of autism was one in six figures, 350,000. Then it was 125,000. Then it went into five figures, 60,000, 10,000. I can tell you now that autism and neurodivergent disorders associated with chemicals, hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, they all fall under neurodivergent mental disorders, are somewhere one in triple digits now. One in triple digits, 1 in 150, 1 in 350. I have not looked at the statistics here lately. I've been having to stop looking at them and just focus on growing and feeding my children and looking at the labels because it can make you upset and concerned. But the preservatives, the things that make food in the grocery store look good, smell good, the preservatives make it travel 2,000 miles from this country, is imported. Those things that they're putting in our kids' cereals and foods, and that's on the aisle, the first thing you've seen, are causing serious hyperactivity of the brain, misdevelopment, miscommunication of the brain. So kids have a higher rate of ADD and ADHD just from red dyes and preservative alone. Then they've also shown that there's an increase in respiratory issues, asthmas, eczema, and then it's also causing issues with digestion in their guts. And in extreme cases, it causes cancer. But the children are more susceptible than us adults because their brains are still developing and evolving. They need those nutrients, and those preservatives are blocking that communication. They're not getting the proper minerals and amino acids to develop that brain, develop those muscles, and make sure you develop the gut, which is the second brain. So all this toxicity is in our children's guts and it's affecting their brain. And then there's just more food and more food and more pharmaceutical drugs. But if you notice your kids, the things that are closest to the aisle between the door when you walk in are the most preservative, processed, packaged, really good snacks to catch your kids. Me, mama, get that, get that, get that. Put it in the car. I just leave mine at home. I leave all of them at home. And then on your way out, when you're standing in line, they spend millions to ensure that what you see around you is quick, is fast, and you're going to purchase it. So now those donuts and those mini dollar and $2 candies are on the aisle as soon as you stand in the line now. And that's just high marketing, and the ingredients are so toxic for our children. Just for you as well, but for our children especially. They have the highest rate of hyperactivity now and lack of focus than ever.
Wow. Thank
So,
you. And I think I've even with me personally growing up, like I had we're not supposed to drink milk at all. And when I was growing up, my parents did not know, and they would feed me milk, and I would just be all over the place with like milk, and it would destroy me. And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" But later on, they learned, like, "Hey, he is lactose intolerant. Like he can't drink milk," and it was a weird thing. But that happens. And another thing, I mean, I actually have a follow-up question. So, I work out. And I get inflamed all the time. And I started learning the magic of juicing to reduce the inflammation. So can you talk about chronic inflammation and how some of, taking some certain fruits can help to like, I guess, mitigate that? And how has that affected our society in general, just in terms of like what we're eating to cause more chronic inflammation?
you hit the jackpot question with that one because they have found that chronic inflammation is actually really the underlying source between all diseases now. Your body responding to it, saying that's not right, this doesn't, it's not natural, and it responds to it with heat and pus and white blood cells saying help, help, something's not right. That's what inflammation is. It's a response of the body to burn something up and kill it, or get those white blood cells to eat it, and it makes pus and inflammation. The inflammation in the gut, in the brain, all over. Arthritis, they're considering that to be inflammation. And that is from all of these non natural, I like to say one ingredient foods. Food is supposed to be one ingredient foods. There was flour, there was eggs, there was milk, there was cheese, and you made a food. But now it's sodium dichloride triglyceride with number six, and guar gum, and aspartame, and some of these things, and our bodies are not responding well to that. So gluten allergies has really been popular in 15 years. It causes inflammation. But the source, the underlying source is it's killing the living things inside the gut, the microbiome. Microorganisms live in our body for us to survive. It processes food, it breaks down food, it's in our mouth, our gut. It actually helps produce 70% of the serotonin is made in your gut. So the sauce in your stomach is the first start of inflammation. They're putting so many chemicals and things that the body's going, oh, that's not, wait a minute, I don't recognize that. And it's interfering with the normal processes in the body is inflamed. So when we return to more natural, one ingredient source things that doesn't have these chemicals, preservatives, or even been straight sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, when it was allowed to grow and evolve in nature with other microorganisms that therefore ends up in our body goes, okay, I recognize that. And those microorganisms go, hey, we're home, we're happy, let's break down some food. Let's take this magnesium and go over here and get to work. Let's take this iron and potassium. It is all a very intricate system that was designed by God for us to evolve. You have microorganisms on your skin, all over. We can't exist without these one cellular things that originate in the soil. But we kill it. We spray everything. We treat everything. We put sanitizer on your hands. All of these things. So once it gets in the body, it goes into the whack and the body responds. And so that is the first step is to decide what is causing inflammation in my body. It's almost like being allergic to it, but not being diagnosed. What am I consuming that's causing my body to scream and respond? 99.9% is something that you put in your mouth.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
it's
Phil.
man, you hit that out of the park, Arlena. And going back to your comment on milk, milk should that's those bacteria and probiotics that exist in milk, you know, are taken away. They're heated out, milk can be transported from Texas to New York, and hopefully last a little bit longer. But guess what? If you said a homogenized gallon of milk on the table, just like a fresh egg that had, it should be able to last there for a while. It should not rot. But they've stripped all the nutrients out of it, and it spoils. It shouldn't spoil. You should be able to sit a gallon of milk, even in a hot place like Texas. We should be able to sit it out there and it lasts for a few days without spoiling. But that's just, another thing. And it's got to a point now where we drink raw milk and we squinch our face up as if it's not, but you go back in the biblical times, they talk about that milk and honey. They talk about the milk and honey. Why? Because it's nourishment. It was nourishment to our bodies. It was healthy. It was, it took care of some of the inflammation and the diseases, but all that stuff has been stripped from our dairy, whether it's goat milk or even cow's milk. Still, that was stuff that was consumed on a regular basis, but it was whole. It was truly whole milk, raw, and ready for consumption versus what we consume today.
I guess, and Phil, I have a follow-up then. Like, how much of a healthcare system is driving poor health, a poor diet right now? How much of that is affecting us?
It's all tied together. I mean, there's a reason we have, and we have A&Ms. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying that because everything in Texas runs that way. But there's a reason for that. Everything is connected, and there's lobbyists right now in Washington, D.C., whether it's an ag bill or some kind of health bill or whatever, and they're saying, hold up, we're going to put an extra zero on that check to make sure things go the way we need them to go because you always follow the money. So that's an easy one for me, OJ. Follow the money, bro. But it's all, as I said earlier, it's all interconnected, but we're if we don't see it on the news, then that's just a conspiracy. Okay. We're seeing a whole lot of stuff that we thought was conspiracy 5 and 10 years ago go on right in our face. They ain't even trying to hide it anymore, but it's all interconnected. This stuff is by design. There's a reason policy changed back in the 1980s and they told farmers go big or go home. There's a reason for all of everything that we see. And typically, if you have a question, just follow the money.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. All right. I have a follow-up, and Phil, I want you to answer it, Uriah and Arlena. Let's move towards solutions because I think it's so important. We've talked about some of these prevalent things that we've been putting into our system. I know I've put some of these bad things into my body. So let's talk about how best we can move forward in terms of healing ourselves. Now, one fascinating thing that while growing up, I grew up in the church, and many of my parents would show up and be like, "Hey, we're going to be fasting for the next 24 hours or 48 hours." I'd be like, I would scream, I would wail, don't do it. I want to eat food. But as I've grown older, I actually have loved the effects of fasting, not just in the biblical sense, but just in the physical as well, because that is all interconnected. So, Phil, I guess I'll start with you. What is the benefits of fasting and how does that help us get fix our bodies?
All right. So first off, when our bodies, going back to the biblical days again, were not designed to eat all day. You looking back in the biblical times, and they talk about eating bread, at the sunlight, and they talk about eating meat at the twilight. But they weren't, their livelihoods, which was pretty much agrarian, wasn't designed for them to kind of be, going back and forth snacking all day. And really our bodies based on our what do you call that thing? Synchronous rhythms or whatever you call that thing. But anyway, our bodies are designed to reset itself
Circadian.
every 24 hours. So when we're overeating, things like insulin, which is there to regulate our sugar in our body, it's constantly makes our insulin levels increase in our body to a point where we become insulin resistant, which creates even higher levels of insulin where, our body doesn't even respond to insulin anymore. So that's the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing, which is, and I'm first to tell you, I'm a foodie, number one. Number two, it hits about 9 and 10 o'clock. All of a sudden, I got a sweet tooth. So there's ways to curb that, because the other part of it too is the way some of these foods are designed, because they have researched this. They know how to market to us, but once we get on a sweet tooth where we start, eating bad ways, especially with ultra processed foods, it's designed to make us crave it over and over again. And one of the ways to break that cycle is fasting. And really what they don't tell us, again, by design, because of everything we just talked about, is that the cells in our body, especially damaged cells, are constantly replacing and rebuilding themselves. And what fasting does, it enhances that process. And it really leads to so many different health benefits. So, what they tell us at the doctors, they may give us say, hey, you got diabetes. And then what do? They give us some prescriptions, and then they give us a diet plan that they know we can't follow. So because they know we're going to fall off that wagon soon, and we're right back to doing more of what we've been doing. So it's like a vicious cycle. With fasting, you don't even have to change your diet. You're going to want to, because of everything we just talked about, and the fact that food is medicine. But I tell people to just start with a fast of 12 hours and then move it up to 16, because we fast anyway when we go to sleep at night. But we want to, like I said before, enhance those benefits that we just talked about, especially with those damaged cells that are going to recuperate on their own. Our bodies, you know, our Father in heaven designed some miraculous bodies that are designed to do some great things on their own without any physician and before we ever go see a doctor. But they're not going to you're not going to hear what I just shared with you if you go to your doctor. So fasting is huge. All you got to do, like I said, start with 12 hours. Stop eating at 8. Don't eat again till 8. and make sure that you don't eat after that period, but start shrinking that. Now, all of a sudden, you stop eating at 8. Maybe you don't start eating again till the next day around noon. And if you can do that every day of the week, great. That's where you go. Some people can't do that. They'd rather just fast one day. Others, personally, I can't fast a whole day. I can, but and I have, but I don't like it and I won't stick with it. So it's better for me to do the 16-hour, the 8 to noon. But give your body the opportunity to reset and heal its own self, and you can do that through fasting.
Thank you, Phil. It sounds like, just creating that consistency within your system so your system can self-regulate and do its job, which is to heal itself rather than relying on,
Yeah. I mean, worst case, if you can do the one, once or twice a week, you can do the 24-hour fast, do it. But if that don't work for you, it's okay. Just do it the other way. Some
yeah.
people do 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and shrink in that time period where they're actually eating. Again, that's not something I want to do every day. But the 8 to 12, I could do that, and I have been doing it. And I immediately, when I started, I'm telling y'all this, can't say it's gonna work for you, but I immediately felt the impacts. Like the next day the very first day I did it, I felt that now, I started eating better and doing the other stuff, but the energy piece of it I immediately felt it. So if you're out there and you feel sluggish, please implement what I talked about right now. And I'd like to hear from you too. Shoot us
Hey,
a text or something in our email. Let us know how it goes. But I'm vouching for that only because I've done it myself. So
hey, Phil. I like how you put that, like how you felt. I notice also too. Certain foods that I eat, I can see a change in my body. Like certain things, like oh man, this right here had a very negative effect. I'm probably going to stay away from that from now on. And you do notice the changes. I noticed that when I fast, my mind is very much more sharp than it was before. Like when your body uses so much energy to digest certain foods that it takes away from your mind power. And so like if you're writing, if you're trying to run a business of some sort, you see that drain coming, it really attacks your system. And I kind of ties into foods that I'm gonna say that I avoid and that people should avoid. And they say that you should eat about 80% natural food. I definitely buy a lot of grapes and different like things, like you said, one ingredient. Watermelon even is out of season now, but I do definitely do a lot of grapes and different fruits and vegetables. But like like one thing I will say is you want to stay away from a lot of processed sugar. Processed sugar is very damaging. Americans, we eat way too much sugar. And like I know this was a topic that I think we spoke about earlier, Uche, is reading the labels. What should you avoid when you look at a label? We mentioned fasting, like abstain from just certain foods to say, hey, I'm just not going to eat this for several, man, there's my favorite chips over there. They're on sale too. Oh shoot. No, but then you just have to have the willpower to say no. And that discipline will give you will like make you feel better. The number two thing I wanted to mention too is I mentioned sugar, added sugar. The other thing is stuff with too much salt. And like just having too much salt, like, I'm always asking, whenever we go shopping, I'm saying, hey, oh, this pasta sauce is on sale. I say, oh wow, what's the sodium content? Oh, it's 800 milligrams. I'm like, no, stop. I don't want to do that. And then I kind of look at that. I look at the milligrams of sugar. They say like 1,500 is the max you're supposed to have per day with sugar. And then the salt, I'm definitely against like having too much salt. And they sneak ingredients in a lot of things, like a loaf of bread will have like sugar in it, pasta sauce. ketchup will have sugar in it. You're like, this is natural, but it has a bunch of sugar in it. And so you wanna be aware of those things and like, just, kind of focus on what are you eating. Some of the, I think that's a big thing besides, the fasting is like staying away from certain things. Number two, processed carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, like every once in a while, we'll be driving. Hey, let's stop and get a donut. I'm like, "Oh, I can't. I'm at a point in my life I don't need any donuts. You know what I'm saying? But like we'll stop. But that's rare. Then the last thing, this came from some information I looked at early today. There was like processed meats have a lot of salt and a lot of nitrates in them, the preservatives. And so like once again, it goes back to knowing your farmer, knowing your butcher. I've met people that will like between a family, they'll buy half a cow or and they'll divide it up, package it up, and they'll split it, fill their freezer with it. And like we have to get back to that really to get back to eating healthy. And we just can't go to the store anymore and just, ooh, that's on sale, child. Let me grab it. And we end up in trouble, And so these are some of the things that we also must start looking at.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess that I have a follow-up for you then, because you talked about we got to know our farmers. What were those folks that don't have that opportunity, right? And they go to the store and they're looking at labeling and food selection. Can you tell us what's the safest material for food containers and how, on food storage?
Woo! Oh, that's a dude. Is that for
Yeah.
me? Is
Yes,
that for
sir.
me? And I'll tell you, um, we got to stay away from plastics. We got to stay away from styrofoam. Certain plastics are not food grade. Okay. The one-use plastics too that we see a lot of prepared foods in supermarkets, they have like that plastic wrap over it, and you just eat it and then you just toss it in the trash, right? That stuff is very dangerous. Like a lot of microplastics in our systems. They say like most of us have our system is full of it, and we don't even we're not aware of that, right? So the number one, the safest material for food containers, what I found in my research was stainless steel. Stainless steel, they said, was very durable and very safe. Number two, and I know this is glass. Regular glass is classic and a reliable choice. And I think the third one what was the third one? Ceramics, which I don't knew that. But there's also food grade plastic, and there are some things that is actually a food grade, and that we can use when we're preparing lunch for our husbands, our wives, our children. We want to make sure they're going with the proper containers. I know glass. People are like, well, it's easy to break. We got glass all over the place. I use mason jars for juicing. I fill them up. I carry them. I have my little cooler, and that's what I use. And I definitely believe it does make a difference. And so those are three safest food materials that I know of, Uche.
Thank you, Raya. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, moving along. We're at the 7 o'clock mark. I do have a question for Phil. Let me jump this back to you. And Raya and Arlena, you guys can both chime in. Um, we've discussed a lot about we've gone through the life cycle of food, right? And I guess let's go back to the root on growing your own food. And for Phil, how does soil health directly affect human health?
It all starts in the soil. Um, you guys heard the story of us starting out as livestock ranchers, and then we learned real quickly to have livestock, you better be know how to grow grass. And now we're finding out that, several, 30 years in, that, yeah, it's great that you know grass, how to grow grass for your livestock, but it really does, it all starts with the soil. If you can understand how to to farm, and really by establishing really strong, healthy soil, everything else takes care of itself. And part of that is really understanding how nature works, how the ecosystem works. Because if you don't understand that, then you really don't understand how to mimic nature. But it all starts in the soil. And one of the big myths out there, is that you have to add minerals to your soil to get the nutrients you want. That's, in my opinion, one of the biggest hustles out there. The reality is you have millions of years worth of minerals already sitting there under on the grass that you're walking on the ground that you're walking on. It's about creating the environment in your soil that releases those nutrients based on the plant that you're trying to grow. And your plant will release those saps if you have the microorganisms and things like that that Arlena said. I don't want to nerd out on it because I definitely can't. I don't want to lose y'all. Point is, it's all about the soil, number one. Number two, understand how nature works. Understand how to build your soil. If I had to do it all over again, all I would do for a year or at least, or how long it takes, usually takes about a couple different seasons if you really are not cheating and doing other stuff that is, involved with conventional farming. But if you follow the formula right here in Texas, there's myths that, oh, it takes 3 to 5 to 10 years to get your soil right. No, no, it doesn't. It takes a couple seasons of rebuilding your soil. If you don't have animals, that may mean, composting the right way because there's a wrong way to compost. If you do have animals, you might be able to speed that up with some of the livestock, depending on, stock density and how the grazing plan that you put in place. But at the end of the day, as a farmer, as a gardener, as a grower, it's all about the soil. If you take care of the soil will take care of you.
I'm ready. So outside of Texas Small Farmers, my organization is called Solutions. And it's near and dear to my heart because in the urban space, I'm an urban farmer. I'm always with urban gardeners. You're not going to have mineral rich soil, unfortunately. And so someone always says to me, do I dig up the yard and plant in the yard or should I get a garden box? I said, I'm going to tell you because you live in the city, we're going to control that environment. We're going to know what's in that soil. We're not going to take a guess of what was sprayed and treated in your yard because the likelihood you just have some grass that got sprayed or your neighbor sprayed it. What's in the water? We're in the urban space, so chemicals are in our soil. And I mentioned this earlier, soil is alive. The microorganisms in the soil are part of the whole process of growing the food with nutrients, the water that it holds, and then making sure that it's good for you when it gets back into your body. So I just tell people all the time, just remember the old saying, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If it came out of that soil, it could go back in that soil. And that's the problem. If it's carrots, chopped up carrots, onions, rice is an agricultural plant. People forget that. Bananas, apples, you're cooking. Once you get done cooking, all those scraps need to go back into that garden soil. And that is how we build the soil. You're making soil. Soil is all of the living things broken down and starting all over. So let's put it all back. So I recommend everyone to do the lasagna method in the urban space. If you're in a rural space or if you have enough space, I'm growing on 5 acres. I only work with two, and the whole job is to recover that soil, fix that soil. So right now I'm actually raising rabbits to help me out. I'm not really ready to do a lot of livestock. I travel, I move around, you got to feed them. But the poop, they do all the work for you. They chew it up, poop, put those microbes in there and it goes in the soil. And then the soil holds all this water and it's green and rich and alive. But we've been programmed to think that all that greenery that grows out, all that stuff that pops up out of the soil is weeds. And then we want to spray it and treat it. We want to till it. And we just kind of we're working backwards due to conformity. Somewhere they started doing it And then we just picked up and we forgot the original way. So in the urban space, I say lasagna method, lasagna method. Put those leaves back into that soil. Put those branches, those twigs, start there first. Let it break down. Then you can add a few bags of soil. So we don't have 10 years. But go ahead and put those vegetables back in there. Put those roots and plants back in there because there is no one fertilizing and watering the forest. Okay? That's what I remind people. It is self-sufficient and thriving without us. It doesn't need us to come in there and de-weed. It dies, it goes into the soil, it is perfect and consumed. Then man comes along and messes with it, then it set fire. But when it's isolated and it's left alone, nature knows what it's doing. It really just it lets us play along. So the answer to growing your own food is to remember, don't do too much of the new modern industrial things. The new things. We got to return to the old things, kind of just old fashioned. My grandmother used to take all the slop and the scraps and throw it right back out there. Put that poop out there and then it will grow. And you probably actually find that once you start throwing all those seeds and those produce and scraps in there, you're going to get a real beautiful squash and a watermelon. And then you're going to realize you're an urban gardener. You're like, I didn't even mean to grow that. Because it's self-sufficient, it's thriving, it thrives. So that's my share on that. Focus on the soil, those microorganisms, and the rest will just come together. That's the biggest focus. Even though I have plants and crops growing, I spend a lot of time thinking about those cracks in the soil and how can I fix the soil in the city.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Phil. All right. I want us to give our audience a chance to ask questions. So, audience, please put in the chat. Please, if you have any questions regarding food insecurity, food access, please put in the chat. But our panelists, I have one question for all three of y'all. I have one last question for all three of y'all. And I think this is the good one, okay? So, what's one action each person listening or will be listening in the future? What can they take before the end of the week to improve whether it's the food they have on their plate, what they're being served, what they're putting through their bodies? What's one action they can take right now? And I'll start with you, Uriah.
Um, that's a good question, Uche. With all we're talking about here, I would I would start like if you're not able to grow food, um, I would definitely just be more conscious about what's in the food that I'm purchasing. I want to read my labels and like make sure that it's not excessive. What I mentioned, salt, monosodium glutamate, sugar. Just really read your labels. If you're looking at your ingredients for a package and you can't decipher what the heck you're looking at, you need to put it back. And I'm being real with that. Just like, I look at some things, I don't know what this is. I can't pronounce. This is a 30-letter word. I'm not a chemist, and I'm gonna put this right back up in here, and I'm gonna look for something a little less complicated. And I want to add to that. Also visit farmers markets and meet some farmers, meet some growers, meet some producers, and try to simplify what's going in your body. And I'm gonna leave it like that. Simplify the food that you're intaking.
Elena?
I'm going to say to eat the rainbow. And I don't mean Skittles. Those are bad. They're really bad. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there. They have the highest amount of dyes that causes ADHD. But eat the rainbow. So your plate, the food triangle is a misnomer. It is wrong. It's completely upside down. The food pyramid, the way they taught us with those carbs and the vegetables and the oil and the sweets, that is so wrong. You really, especially with the way food is processed, you should have a rainbow. Your food should be a color and a variety. If you have a lot of whites and browns and yellows, that means there's too much starch and too much carbohydrates. So if you have rainbow, yellows, greens, reds, those those are nature's way of healing you. Anything red is focusing on that heart, blood pressure, get them in. Yellow is healing. It has nutrients and minerals and potassiums. Greens, you can't go wrong with greens. So you mix that rainbow in. That means you're eating more vegetables. And I have found that people have really gotten away from vegetables. They really have. Be creative. Everybody loves Cheddar's broccoli casserole. Everybody. It is the top selling at Cheddar's. I hear myself included. I get two. I get two sides. Let me have two broccoli casseroles. But get creative for yourself and your children. A big thing that I do to sneak in vegetables, I don't need to do that in my house, but that's something that I like to share with others to do. Juice it and put it in the spaghetti, put it in lasagna, put it in the chilies. Juice those carrots, juice those tomatoes, juice those beets, and put it in the gravy sauce. They don't know it all turned brown. Get those vegetables in more servings in the daytime. So if you have eaten something in the rainbow color for breakfast and lunch and dinner, your health outcomes will dramatically change. And I am a testament to that. I have reversed high cholesterol, high blood pressure. It's a few more that I can't think of. I never had an issue with diabetes outside of my physical injuries and disability from the Army. If it was related to food, I have reversed it by what I told you about eating the rainbow. And I have to be disciplined and stay with it. As soon as I stop eating the rainbow and I eat what everybody else is eating, I'm sick. I'm at the doctor. I got to go back to it. It's a lifestyle. That's my rule of thumb for you.
Thank you, Elena. Phil?
All right, well, you already know what I feel about fasting, so I'm gonna pick a different one, but I would say definitely fasting one, but I'm gonna cheat and also say get moving. Start walking. When I say moving, not necessarily running, walking. That's even better because it doesn't beat up your body. But some of the benefits of walking include you better mood, lower chance of premature death, reduced risk of diabetes, cancer, heart disease, improved brain health, weight loss, more muscle. You build muscle, which increases and helps your metabolism, increase bone density, and increase energy levels. And also I'll mix in there, do some type of weightlifting or lifting your body weight as well, because that has a big physical activity accounts for a lot of the diseases. I know heart disease accounts for 22% of heart disease, 22% of colon cancer, 12% of diabetes, 5% of breast cancer, all is related to lack of physical activity. So we talked a lot about food and what's on your plate, but there's things you can do to offset it, and you can't farm or garden without walking. So for some of us on here, we can kill that, two birds with one stone with that by simply being growers and doing what we enjoy doing anyway. But get out and get active and be active to help counter attack some of the things that we shared tonight.
That's I agree with. Yes, please get active, y'all. Work out in whatever shape or form you choose. Just get active. All righty, we are nearing the end, and I have no questions. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Seems like
You did good. You
we're
did
doing
good, y'all.
good. Yeah, I do see that the chat has been active. Oh, Arlena, yes.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and then that way, then I want us to go back and look at the chat and chat with them. But we were talking about fasting, and I wanted to share some statistical things about fasting and reversing disease. 36 hours is the magic number. I also wanted to point out that we are all very faith-based and heavily believe in our faith in the Lord in our household, but I don't want to make that assumption. So I'm going to give you some biology with fasting just in case you felt a little comfortable when we was outside of your comfort zone, okay? So there is a difference between fasting and consecration. So we really are into that on all of us on this call. But after 6 and 12 hours, your body starts to use stored glucose. After it's used that stored glucose in those first 6 hours, and then run out. So we got a little extra little muffin top. That's what they call it. Um, and when you get to 12 hours, the body pulls glycogen molecules from the liver, stored fat that never goes away. Then after 12 hours, they're like, whoa, hold on, I'm getting real hungry. I'm stressing out. The brain is happy the entire time. The stomach starts to growl. The liver starts to wake up and start making some noises too, releasing bile, what's going on. And then if the body starts to release, the pituitary gland will release, don't go draw a blank, Orlando. Oh my God. Growth hormone. Growth hormone. This does not make you get bigger hormone. It's to sustain you. It's a hormone to tell you that you're full. It's the body's way of saying, let's keep going. Because once you hit 20 hours, the body will start to use ketones. You go to ketogenesis, which is stored fat in the liver. So a lot of times we have fatty livers, fatty livers that's stored around the liver that causes us to not to really be able to lose weight and causes issues with diabetes, insulin, and so forth. A lot of issues. So once you get to 20 hours, you're making the liver fast, and that's when things get real. Once you get past that 20 hours, autophagy. I can't say it. It means to autophage, to kill things that were inside the body that normally shouldn't be there. So you want to get to that phase, over the 20 hours, when you get to the 24 to the 36, which ideally you'll be asleep, the body inside the cells will find waste, proteins, and things that are not doing anything. It's just bad. Bacteria, viruses, and cells that's just been sitting there just excessively from our diet that they produced, and things from allergies and stuff we've been exposed to and the processed food. It'll be like, what, why y'all in here? It will get rid of it. By the time you make it to 36 hours, the body will start making new stem cells. So that means a cell that originally doesn't have a job. Usually babies are the only ones that have stem cells. It's a cell that says, all right, where should I go? Where do I need to be? And where do I need to work and repair? You want to get to that stem cell phase. That type of fasting is used to teach major disease. It is actually how I recovered from COVID, when the body was just out of whack. Your brain fog, you just don't know what's going on with your body. The 36-hour fast has really helped. And I wanted to say, in which we didn't say, fasting does not mean absolutely nothing. It means consuming nutrient, raw, dense things. You could be drinking herbal teas during that time, broths, not eating nothing processed in a store with a label on it. It's something that you could just pick up out of a garden, something that's grown, so herbs are grown, nothing that has more than 2, 3 ingredients. And that will sustain your body. It may be just bananas the whole time. It may be cantaloupe. But you doing that 36 hours, or you want to stop consuming anything that's processed whatsoever. And that will be the healing. That will be the breakthrough for your body. So that was the scientific nutritional facts for you guys.
Awesome. No,
Nerd
I
out. I had to nerd
learned.
out one more time.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Arlena. And I do believe we had an attendee had there. Wilma, do you still have? I'm going to give you opportunity to speak if you would like to share.
Oh, that's an error.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. All right. So yeah, we are at the 7:20 mark. I've asked all my questions, and I would love to get questions from the audience, but our audience is quiet today. But that's okay. That's okay. I really appreciate y'all. Oh, there's things in the chat. What's in the chat? What's in the chat? Let me see. Sorry, I've been like focused. Okay. All right. Oh, ooh, the chat's been active. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. All right, Kelly said organic labeling and they learn the art of imagery and colors to influence. Oh, like Kelly's referencing
Green.
food dyes and the type of food. I recently saw an article that Blazing Hot Cheetos, they're removing the red dye from it now to make it just what it is. Even if it's still processed, don't they're just removing the red dye that makes it red. Because I've tasted it before. It is not hot to me in any way. I've had hot pepper. I've had Cameroonian spice, and that's hot. And that's brown. That is not even red. That is a brown color. And if you ever try it, don't do it. Don't do it. But it's really good. It's really delicious. Okay, thank you, Kelly, for that feedback.
Hey, that brings up a good point though.
Yes, sir.
Is that hey, they can market it to you, they will. I won't be
Mm,
surprised if they take uh, a healthy turn on those Cheetos, even though we know they're ultra processed. And we have to be careful and conscious. I think it's worth being is said, even stores like Sprouts and Whole Foods, even Trader Joe's, which tends to be, buy local and be a little bit more healthier. Um, they, a lot of those things that they put on the shelf, they know if you're gonna go for fat free, that's what they gonna put on this. May still be ultra processed, but you feel good about yourself because you eating those veggies that were those chips that are vegetables. So I'm
mm.
still getting my vegetables in. Be careful on that kind of stuff because hey, they gon' if you buy and they sell it.
That's true. That is true. And I don't. I've seen those like veggie chips, and I'm like, how do you make a vegetable a chip? I still don't get it, but hey, to each their
Yeah.
own. To each their
Check
own.
out what oil it's been processed. It was it was
I
made in.
I I wish I had the bag. I bought some chips yesterday from Cape Cod because it said no preservatives, no high fructose corn syrup, and no something else. I said, "Oh, let me try this." And I went home. I was like, "Look at this bag. Look, it doesn't have this in it." And so I opened it. I was down to the bottom of the bag. And then I went down there and looked at it in the ingredients. I was really excited. No preservatives. I said, look at this, garlic powder, onion powder. Okay, this is my new brand. Let me take a picture. And then I started reading real small. Let me get my glasses. What does that say? This product has been genetically bioengineered and it
Mm,
is a GMO product. I was
mm,
like, they got me.
mm, mm,
Even the
mm.
label had natural products in it, but I got to the small print and was like, hey, they bamboozled me. And
Wow.
this is one of the biggest selling chips in the health food store.
Well, let's just
All
start making our
all
own chips like we did back in the day. Cut that
GMO. Why
potato
they have
up.
a
all of
GMO chips?
all the HEB chips got bioengineered material in them. They all say it.
That's wow.
Hey,
I'm
they
gonna have to
gon'
be
they
like
gonna
Dana.
ban us from the internet now. We ain't that large yet. Good thing we ain't large yet.
Uh-uh.
No.
All the people I see with the new information, they can't be.
Yeah.
Sarah is mentioning in chat. She asked a question about the advantages of peppers in a diet. I answered in the chat to say that capsaicin, which is what makes peppers hot, is very healing and it helps with inflammation and
Mm.
ultimately pain. I actually have a chili seed oil, essential oil. That's another thing, you guys. I have to wear gloves, put it like that. Um, and she says she has three colors of bell peppers in her fridge. That's awesome. The red, yellow, and green bell pepper blend is very healing. The Caribbeans know what they were doing. That actually is very high in vitamin C as well as having capsaicin in it. And what they don't ever tell you is if you have an iron deficiency, you're going to remain deficient if you're not consuming the iron with vitamin C.
Mm.
They forget to tell you. You need the vitamin C to help absorb the iron and help it get into the body. So that's a good fact for a good win for the peppers.
Awesome. And we also have a question in
Yeah.
the
Ooh.
oh, Ryan, yes.
I did want to say, you should cayenne is one of those super medicinal peppers. The bell peppers, I mean bell peppers, but cayenne is like great for everything. Pain relief, helps with your stomach, helps with your blood pressure. Cayenne pepper. I put cayenne pepper like on. I sprinkle cayenne pepper on some of everything. If you can grow cayenne pepper and dry it, grind it, whatever. But cayenne is one of those superfoods.
And it grows super fast and super wild. Once you get it set and rolling, it will just go, and you'll be pulling 20 of them every day. I had to dehydrate mine because I had so many last year.
Oh, maybe I should do some on my counter. That sounds like a good idea. Probably will do that. We have a question from Stephanie Gray. She said a panelist mentioned adding minerals to soil wouldn't be beneficial. However, when looking to purchase land, is there a type of soil that would make growing easier? Hmm. I know the answer to this, but I'll let y'all do
Oh,
it.
so yeah, there's rich soil out there. It really depends on the previous manager. There's no bad soil, there's just bad management. So yeah, you do want to. There was I think I did a Tuesday seeds. I don't know if we can find it, but you can reach out to us. But we did a Tuesday seeds that talked about the web survey, soil survey, soil web survey from NRCS, which for the most part does a pretty good job of giving you information up front when you're looking to buy land and or just maybe you're renting or leasing. You want to know some information about it. But at the end of the day, what I said, let me make sure I clarify because that can kind of be confusing. And what happens sometimes we run out and sh share stuff with other people and they beat us up because we didn't quite hear it right. So what I said was that the on all ground, anywhere you go, the existing minerals, sometimes it's limestone, whatever it is, bedrock, there's stuff where if you dig far enough, you're gonna hit your shovel's gonna go king. Guess what that is, y'all? That's minerals that's already there. The problem is that if you have poor soil or a poor soil makeup, meaning not enough organic matter in your soil, that then whatever you're trying to grow is not going to make the connection. It's not going to release the nutrients, the plant ready nutrients, because there's a disconnect. It's just like having a refrigerator and having a plug, but if you don't plug it in, then it's not doing what we're talking about with the soil, which you heard Arlena say earlier when she was talking about the nutrients and about whether it's through composting or using livestock or a combination. You want to build your soil because even on a farm, there's no, all land is different. On every land, there's patches of great soil. There could be patches of great soil, but guess what? You might walk 10 yards and it's bad soil. So you want to understand the principle of managing your soil to a point where you can build it where it regenerates itself. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we teach. A lot of people don't want to learn that. They want to kind of cut corners to the fun part, which is growing stuff, or, if you love animals, raising livestock. But if you cut that corner, if you don't understand that principle, you don't understand the fundamentals of how nature works to get that point where you build your soil where the nutrients are now already there for based on whatever your plant needs. And every plant, Uriah is better than me. I'm just learning how to garden. I'm getting some pretty cool stuff growing there. I'm seeing some stuff pop. My college is looking good, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning what is what. And every plant can be different based on the species and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you get your soil right in your plant and you get the soil built correctly, the plant's going to dictate what it wants, and then you'll have the microbes and everything there to grab, turn that mineral into the nutrients that you need, versus going out buying stuff that you don't need, and then you're only using probably 8% of it. The plant's only using 8% of it. The rest of it just is washing down in the stream or the aquifers or the ocean. So anyway, I hope I answered that question. I know I went a long ways to answer it, but definitely a solid question that I want everyone to know.
Stephanie gave a thumbs up. She said yes. Awesome. Arlena.
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge some of our guests. I'm glad she joined us. Yuritsa Torres from the city of Dallas.
Oh,
I believe the sustainability, that's it. The environmental sustainability. She works with local gardeners, food systems. And I would hope that she saw my Instagram. I spoke at the DIG conference, and that's how she found us. And I'm so glad you joined us. She gave a very good reply for Stephanie to look into your ecoregion, your history of your soil, and a soil test. We actually use some tools, and I'm going to ask that Uche share it in the recording and a responding email where you can look up your region, put in your address, and it will share about your soil. And then you can always reach out if you have anything it's too technical and some words you don't understand. So Phil and I would love to nerd out with a soil scientist. You see, he got his. I don't see his microscope. Yeah, that he wants to show you his microscope. Ah, yes, I have a degree in biology and I transferred it to public health so I can tie together the food, the gardening, and the biology. So, um, when you when we send you that resource in your email and make sure that you take a look at it. You can always message us. He actually looks at the emails and check the emails, and then you can even call, leave a message, and so that we can get back with you and help guide you in that process. But we have plenty of education that you could tap into to grow more. Sarah is
Oh,
also
wait, well, we have
fellow nerd.
Wilma, did you want to ask a question? I know you have your hand up. Or is that a mistake? Wilma? Oh, okay. Okay. So Sarah, yes, let's divert to Sarah. Sarah says, "What brand and model of microscope? What brand and model of microscope is that? I need a new one." All right, Phil, come on, time to nerd out.
It's a LW Scientific. It's an I4.
I have no clue what any of those words meant.
But the brand is LW
It
Scientific.
doesn't matter. Sarah is a nerd amongst the nerds, so
Sarah,
she Sarah has hog
said going
operations.
straight. Sarah said going straight to the internet. See, you know what? That's the beauty about this. When I was younger, we had a microscope in my school, and I never knew or understood. I'm not my younger brother, the science, the doctor or whatever. I don't do microscopes. No, give me an electrical circuit, I'm in love. That's where you find my heart at. But no, so we have officially passed the 7:30 mark. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, first of all, tonight's conversation, this showed us that the food, farming, health, and finances are deeply connected. And I'm grateful for each one of you for helping us tell that story and share with everyone, about from our tables in our kitchens and all about our soil. So, thank you to our incredible panelists. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Please share what you've learned today. We are going to be posting this on our YouTube and we'll be sending out an email as well to all attendees, just with a recap as well as additional information that we discuss. As always, Teacher Network, and until next time, be the exception. Good night, y'all.
See you later.